Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever taken a test in school or done something at work and you thought, that went really well, I really crushed it? And then you got feedback. In school, maybe you get a bad grade. At work, you get told that you're an idiot. I mean, hopefully not in those words, because then you should probably quit. But you get my point. Well, in chess, we have something very similar. In chess, sometimes we play a game, and then we get told that we are really bad. We thought that we were really good, but no, unfortunately, that is not the case. That is the purpose of today's video. Today's video is brought to you by a subscriber who sent in his game, very brave subscriber. That's the whole introduction. I'm not gonna go any deeper than that. We've got a whole playlist of these games on this channel, and every single time, I find that some of you just outperform previous games. I mean, y'all send me these games, and I really get to the point that I think they're fake. Now, I've got a big reveal for you and a big surprise for you at the end of this game. As always, both players are going to be given honorary Grandmaster titles. That's not official, but they are featured in this video. And when you get featured in a Gotham video, you get one of these. So Rithwik sent in this game, and let me just tell you right now, Rithwik is a brave guy. So the game opens with pawn to e4. Black responds pawn to e5. So far, so good. Both players have moved their king's pawn to the center of the board. This is also a great move, developing and targeting the knight. Now black will play this. Or at noob level, black will go here. Fine. Technically, that also protects the pawn. And, you've got eyes over here if somehow white has, desire to lose. Now, I love white's next move. Again, I make these videos to make fun of these players, but also to make fun of you because you make moves like that, and then I make fun of myself separately. I don't make fun of myself in the context of these videos because I don't play like this, but I make fun of myself in the context of the fact that I've been playing this board game for over 20 years, and there are 10-year-olds who are better than me, right? So the beautiful thing about chess is you can make fun of yourself, and we can make fun of these players, but you can also make fun of me. And then we can make fun of the best players in the world because Stockfish is so much better than them. So I love this move by white. Pawn to c3, trying to play pawn to d4. Don't hate it at all. I also would like to see development of a knight or a bishop, but white plays c3, and black just walks directly into getting slapped. I mean, basically, white was already completely planning on playing pawn to d4 to take control of the center. Keep in mind, as a beginner, 2 pawns in the center is a very good thing, and this does, in fact, happen. Now, this is basically the end of the logical moves. And from this point forward, this game is sort of like air hockey. Have any of you played air hockey? You know that game in the arcade with the little puck? And I don't know, is that just an American thing? Do people play this in other parts of the world? And it's like really chaotic. It's like, blah, blah, blah. It's like a super stressful game. So basically, black takes on d4. And for some reason, white doesn't take back. I mean, I get it. But as a beginner, you really should stay away from moves like this. I mean, basically, you play this move. You justify playing this move by saying, I'm going there. I attack the queen. If he takes me, I take. That's the end of the thought. That's it. Now, what happens when the queen moves and attacks the thing that has no defenders? You didn't think about that, right? You just thought, well, I'm going to go there. If he takes me, I take. Yeah, but what if they don't have brain damage? What if that? And by the way, people who do have brain damage would still find this move. Nothing, it happens. You get a head trauma, God forbid. All right? Or, I mean, I like, there's like all these stories of microplasticity in the brain, and you can, so, yeah, please, let's be serious. Anyway, pawn takes d4 was much better, except now white does it and just hangs this pawn, right? So now that's a check. Very nice find by black. White doesn't have time to take the bishop. You lost the center pawn. So let's not play like we have self-inflicted brain damage, right? That's probably a better way to describe it. So queen e2, okay? Yeah, so it's better here for white to just develop the bishop and castle. You're down a pawn already. You kind of don't want to start trading pieces. If you start trading pieces, you're not really going to be able to fight back later on in the game. Black takes the queen, bishop goes here, and now I would like to draw your attention to something. So in chess, sometimes things are very simple. The pawn is attacking the bishop. How do we get out of a threat? We move. How many safe squares does this bishop have? 1, 2, 3, 4, and even 5. Now, I wouldn't recommend going bishop f8, but it's fine. 5 safe moves. The best part is you don't even have to move the bishop. I mean, you should, but you can create equal or exceeding danger. You technically could go here. Yes, you would lose a pawn in the process, and it's not a good move. What you shouldn't do is Now, keep something in mind. These players are playing 15-10. They get 10-second bonus every time they make a move. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but if we take 14:31 and subtract 10 seconds, because that's what black got, that means they played this move with 14:21 on the clock. Black had this many safe moves, and in 2 seconds went here. My friends, if you want to play games that give you such immediate feedback, play Overwatch. I played Overwatch 1 for like 2 straight years. It was an addiction. I got out. But play Overwatch. Pew, 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 pew. Like, what are we doing? And white just takes. And now black realizes, what have I done? And all my pieces are on the home rank. H6. Yeah, I kind of wish you played that move, earlier. White now retreats. So white is now a full bishop. Technically, very, very small detail. Black has 2 extra pawns. Black actually has 7 pawns, and white has 5. So it's not as bad as it looks. It's +4 on the computer because, of course, the engine, sees a bunch of ways to win. Black develops the knight, white develops the knight. Okay, tremendous. Black plays pawn to d6. If I'm playing with white here, I may consider wandering over here and trying to attack this pawn, but I absolutely cannot criticize the move short castle. Black also castles. Now, for some reason, the players played a series of grandmaster moves after losing a bunch of pieces for no reason. White now plays this very powerful move, pawn to h3. Now, these players are playing way too fast. Again, I criticize several things. I don't understand why y'all boot up games where you get 15 minutes on the clock, and 20 moves into the game, you have more than 15 minutes on the clock. What are you doing? I mean, just play bullet, right? Like, play a game which incentivizes speed. Anyway, black plays c5. Again, don't hate this move. It's very difficult to play down material. Now, with white, I would venture over here. Right, you got to be careful. You got to not get taken by something. But knight b5 is a nice move because not only does it threaten the pawn, it also threatens the empty square. As a noob, you have to see threats on physical pieces and threats on empty squares, which then lead to something. White retreats back to c2 after spending 1.5 minutes, either because there was, delivery at the front door, or they had to, wipe in the toilet, or, they actually spent some time on this move. Black plays bishop f5. Great move. Excellent. Develops a bishop, targets the weak knight. You can either protect the knight, or you can move it. Okay, I guess the challenge was put the knight on the worst square possible. No problem. Challenge succeeded. You got a little banner from chess.com. Bozo, you won a little medal. Black plays a6. Again, I think black sort of realized early on in this game, like, maybe I shouldn't lose my pieces. Chess is much harder when I lose my pieces. White plays rook d1. Excellent move. Brings the rook to the center of the board, attacks the thing that's weak. Again, your opponent plays a6. In general, the thought process in chess goes, what is the idea of that move, and is there an idea? Not every move. You're not going to be able to tell what an idea of a move is all the time because you're not good enough yet. That's not an insult. This is an insult. You're a bozo. But seriously, you're not going to be able to tell. You just can't. You're not always, technically the idea of this move is to protect b5, but does black even know that? I mean, the thing is, you may be justifying your opponent's moves, but your opponent doesn't even know why they made a move. So, okay. Rook d1, love it. So, at next order of business in the thought process of making a move is, not every move needs to attack something, right? Like, the pawn to g4 is fine, but in most circumstances, it's better not to, weaken our king. So, okay, rook d1, attacks the pawn. Black plays rook d8. Now, this is actually an illusion. There's an illusion here that this pawn is protected. Pay attention to this. This is a pattern you're going to see a lot in your games. Sometimes you have a rook attacking a pawn or anything, and then there's a rook on the other side, right? So these rooks are interacting. They're both staring at that. But if the rook behind the defense is not protected. That means that the thing that you are targeting is actually a bit weak. And here, bishop c5 is possible. That's a very sneaky thing. Whereas, if you wait a move, now the rook has a lot of protection, which means that's also protected, right? Does that make sense? Did you understand that? So anytime you have this kind of interaction, look beyond it as well. Make sure, like, wait a minute, that rook's got nothing guarding it. So bishop c5. White goes here. I can't really blame them. I mean, it's a very, very natural continuation. Now black should probably push the pawn forward. Black goes here. Great move. That's fantastic. Now, if I'm being a stickler for things like you should trade when you're winning, this is usually a really dumb move. But honestly, I wouldn't even hate it now. Because again, you're up material. The less pieces your opponent has, you know, the harder it is going to be to create counterplay. But you don't have to do that. Instead, white goes knight f3. Now, black here should focus where they are stronger. And my God, from this point forward, pandemonium breaks loose. Black basically realizes me push pawn, right? You have more pawns. You have 7 to 5. So that is your advantage. And let me tell you something right now. People below, if I had to give a number, 1,500, have absolutely zero clue how to deal with an avalanche of connected pawns. Avalanche, pawns moving forward together, not Colorado Avalanche. And connected pawns are pawns that are standing side by side. So these are all connected, and these are all connected. These are not connected. I would hope those of you watching this would understand that those, if you don't understand that, checkers. Maybe I'll make a checkers channel. All the pieces move the same. Maybe it'll be a little bit easier for you. Or cooking channel. You know, maybe don't even play on a board. Just cook. Play Battleship. I don't know. Mahjong. But yeah, so connected, pass pawns. Now, this is still totally winning. It's totally winning because what you're supposed to do is, yeah, you're just kind of supposed to control them, right? But now suddenly, look at that. That's a problem. Because where do you move the knight? Suddenly, you absolutely have to go backwards. And if you go too far backwards, look at this. You might get trapped. I mean, your bishop's kind of trapped. The only thing that it's not trapped is because the rook is pinned, but that's way too high level. So a3, d4. Now, white fires off knight to h4, giving up the knight with the bishop hanging. Now, friendly reminder, the knight is not hanging because the rook is hanging. I don't know if white saw any of that. I would wager, if I had to, probably not. All we saw is bishop is under attack. Now, look at this move by black. Look at this haymaker from the heavens. Bishop to c2. I mean, my goodness, the rook is under attack, the knight could potentially be under attack, and there is a very sneaky, hidden little move in this position that I guarantee none of you see. Well, some of you do, because you're pretty strong. Rook to d2, attacks the bishop back, the bishop slides over here. Now, the thing that's hidden in this position, the move pawn to g5, super low key, but there is a fork looming on the horizon, but these pawns are also looming on the horizon. Now, here, white plays bishop d1. The fact that white even knows bishops go backwards is commendable. Now, the knight still cannot be taken. Right? It's absolute chaos. What black should do here is put the bishop on c4, targeting the rook. And when the rook moves, that's when you start firing away g5. That's when you protect the rook, so you open up the attack on the knight. Bishop d1, but black takes the bishop. Fine. Rook d1. You still cannot take the knight, but you do have this move g5 whenever you want it. Black plays knight c6. So, again, knight c6 is played. Rook is now protected. The rook just got from 0 protection to 2. 2 things are protecting the rook. So the knight is absolutely under attack. The knight has to move. No questions asked. It does. Now black has this move g5. That is just a pure fork. Winning back material with the avalanche still here, going strong. But black plays the second best move, which is knight jumping into the middle of the board, attacking the rook. Can't really hate it. I mean, that is a pretty, good move by black. Knight to e4 played pretty quickly. White moves the rook to d3. Once again, the move pawn to g5 is there. It is there. It is not played again. Instead, black plays the much more natural pawn to c4, attacking the rook, which is a bad move because now rook f3 can be played. I mean, I don't even know. And now black plays d3. So look at this. I told you the avalanche of connected pawns is terrifying for most beginner and intermediate players. They have absolutely no idea how to deal with it. So look at this. The knight goes to c3. Now, again, the reason why this is bad is because black can take, and fire off this fork. Again, that fork has been there for 10 moves. The fork has been available for like 10 moves. It's not happening. I think we can safely forget about the fork, all right? Which is why the eval bar is bouncing up and down every single turn. Instead, look at this. We play knight d4. Now, the reason that this move is really bad is because you are giving up a full knight. Knight takes e4, knight takes f3, knight comes back, and we have 3 pieces for a rook, which is not going to get it done. The 3 pieces will demolish the rook. It's just not possible. Also, you're never getting these pawns down here. I control way too many squares. Not only do I control... Look at this. I mean, I can completely embarrass the pawn chain. You have to be very careful putting the color of the pawns on the opposite color of your opponent's bishop. Got to be really careful. All right, that doesn't happen. Knight to c3 targets the knight in the center of the board. Knight to d4, and white does not find knight takes knight. Now black is completely winning again. Black is completely winning again because they can take, which now they found it because the rook was attacking the knight. So obviously they found it. Knight takes knight, pawn takes knight. Now black is completely winning. If black jumps in, attacks the king, attacks the bishop, it's a fork. It's even worse than that because now the pawn is about to queen, rook to d1 is on the way, and the game is over. bc3, and black also can win the game by again playing pawn to g5, which is a fork, but instead of that, black plays knight to c2, and the position is back to equal. Now, I get knight to c2. You are trying to fork, get rid of this pawn, and have a 4-on-1 avalanche. I mean, the game plan for essentially the entire game for black has been avalanche. White plays rook e7, which is a move that accomplishes absolutely nothing. If you needed to do something here, you needed to go target the pawn in front of the king. You don't do that. Now we have knight takes a3. Now, it's still very, very complicated. Here, white suddenly realizes, if I don't do anything in this position, black is simply going to push all the pawns forward. So now I need to launch an attack on my opponent's king. The best way to launch an attack on my opponent's king when I have 2 rooks, a bishop, and a knight is to move my g-pawn. Now it's pawn to g4, and the game... By the way, the craziest thing about pawn to g4 is that if there was ever a moment to inspire the opponent to fork you, which has just been there literally the entire game, now black should be, oh, g4, you would, oh, duh. And now that's it. And g5 is just there, and, you know, white has to go here, and white will never find that. g5. Instead of that, black is completely tunneling on this. a5. A move made on the opposite corner of the board. We are off to the races. Here, white, for some reason, does not go g5. Instead, bringing the knight back. Finally. How many moves was the fork available, by the way? Knight to h4 for basically, yeah, like 12 moves. I mean, pawn to g5 has been... You see the arrow just repeatedly. I mean, it's just there. It's just there. Knight comes back to f3 and b4. There it is. We are arriving. It is basically a race against time. How is white possibly going to strike back here? There it goes, pawn to g5. Now that move does nothing. Like I get it. I totally understand. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but this is very fast. b3, b2, b1 is a queen waiting to happen. The knight even controls the promotion square. Now, of course, you can take. You take, there's no pawns left. Black says, you know, let me play h5. Let me just stop the pawn attack. Yes, but now white does something really genius. Pawn to g6. g6 is low-key, aka high-key, an absolutely brilliant move. Let me explain why. If for whatever reason you did something like knight e5, by the time you play g6, I've arrived on the second rank probably, and you're just not going to have enough time. g6 is brilliant because it's actually getting closer to the king, and if black takes, you open this and bishop e5. And suddenly, suddenly, I don't feel so insecure. By the way, great song. Yeah, like now you have knight h7, bishop f6, knight e6, even rook e1 can control from a distance. So even though black is a square away from queening, and even can queen, it's mate. Knight e6 and rook e7. So knight, rook, and bishop like this, very powerful when attacking a king on the 7th rank. A lot to learn in this video. g6, black takes on c3, and now white is completely winning if white plays pawn takes f7 check. Pawn takes f7 check, protects the rook, brings in the knight. A little bit beyond what we can accomplish here, but look at this. King f8, now white is completely winning. Now, the only move here that wins for white, the only move is rook b7. If you play rook c7, then black has enough time to jump back and attack you and play defense. Nobody on planet Earth at this level is finding that move. Even if you play c2, Look how disgusting. You can give this up and you win. You have a queen, but you can't stop mate. Knight h7 is mate, knight e6 is mate. Nothing. So rook to b7 wins the game. Instead, we play rook e1 with a similar idea. The only reason this doesn't work, the idea is very simple. The idea is very simple. You move the knight. Knight h4, knight g6. Knight e5. Knight e5, there's king e7 probably, but that's the point. Rook e1. And now, by an absolute miracle, black realizes the thing protecting the rook is the rook over here. So let me play d2. That is a brilliant move. Now you are threatening to take the rook. This is high pressure stuff. And unfortunately here, white blunders. And the rook is gone. What white had to do here was take, and not only take, you had to take again. And the point is there is no rook d2 because rook e8 check. King f7, rook here, and now it's apparently a draw. I don't know how. But instead, white went here and lost the rook. And now you're going to lose the pawn. And that's it. And white, white tried with bishop c7. 4 passed pawns for black, are ready to come down the board. The rook goes here. Bishop b6. And for reasons actually there are, if king f7, by the way, knight to e5 is a fork, which is why black goes here. Or mouse slipped. Again, or mouse slipped. Bishop a5 is absurdly tricky. If rook a5, f8 is a queen, which is why we have rook f7, but now bishop c... Wait a minute. And suddenly, after having 4 pawns here, white is starting to pick them up. That's a check. Knight g5, oh my god! Oh my god, you won the rook back! King f7, now you have the opportunity to win this. But knight b1 is a fork arriving on your home square where your own knight is supposed to be. You play rook d7, that's a huge mistake. You went for danger levels, but this is attacking, and this is the king needs to go here attacking the rook while the knight attacks the bishop. There was no way to protect each other, but black goes king to g6. And now it's over because what you do here is you can take on g7. All of the game is over. It's finished. The advantage is gone. And now, in true 100 ELO chess fashion, an unexpected plot twist arrives just at the end. Black plays king h6. White moves the bishop out of danger. Now probably you should play c3, c2, c1. You should probably put the rook behind the pawn. Black plays rook to f8. And in this position, white went rook to g2. And black resigned. I guess black thought this was unstoppable? Maybe black was tilted? Maybe black disconnect? But it said resignation. And perhaps the biggest plot twist of all is that black was rated 893 and white was rated 1115. These were no 100 ELO players. I don't know what happened here.